I cover vampires a lot on this channel because there are so many plays, literature, movies about them. Some of the first silent movies were about vampires. Many times the vampire characters in the stories are fashioned after real historical people, and they are bloodliners. I have a playlist titled Bloodliners Depicted as Vampires, and this video will be added to that playlist. The movie Sinners is a vampire movie, and it just won more awards than any other movie in history. There's also another Dracula movie coming out starring Keanu Reeves soon. There has to be a reason there are so many vampire movies and plays and stories and paintings, etc. And I think it's because the vampire of literature links back to the Nephilim, because blood drinking was a trait of the Nephilim, who are now known as demons. The descendants of Amalek were a Nephilim tribe in the Bible. Amalek in Hebrew translates to blood liquor. Jewish legends record Esau as being a mortal enemy of Jacob who swore an oath to bite Jacob dead with his mouth and suck his blood dry like a vampire. Drinking blood is also a dragon court ritual, an evil custom that continues to this day among the powerful few who carry on the Nephilim traditions. The Celtic, Druidic, and Scythian heritage of the blood cult of the serpent. They drink blood as a form of ritual magic, demonic worship, and longevity. In the history and religion of these people, vampires are part of the Albigens, elven, fairy, grail, ringlord race, who were overlords and high kings of the elven, fairy, and Tuatha De Danann bloodlines. Another name for vampire is Upir, derived from the Scythian word Upir. Overlord or Oberon was also equivalent to the British Pendragon. I don't know if people actually grow fangs and shapeshift and bite people. There's nothing in my Bible about that, but they're definitely a metaphor for demonic oppression or possession. So, possession by the Nephilim spirits. Vampire, Upir, or Strigoi are synonymous terms that mean night demon. A friend and I were discussing this concept that you have to let a vampire in because of the movie Sinners, which involved a scene where the vampires had to get permission to enter the facility where a party was happening. Metaphorically, this mirrors the concept that if you give demons permission by doing drugs, sinning, involvement in the occult, etc., you give them a legal access to you spiritually. So it's a type of doorway or a portal. And that concept is mirrored in this movie that is literally titled Sinners, where vampires come to where they're sinning. I realized that I hadn't covered the movie Sinners, so I'm going to cover it in this video. This vampire movie set a record with 16 nominations at the Academy Awards and 4 wins. It won Best Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Original Score. It also received 13 nominations at the British Academy Awards and won Best Original Screenplay. It had a record-breaking 18 nominations and 13 wins at the NAACP Image Awards. It had 4 wins at the Critics' Choice Awards and 2 wins at the Golden Globes and 2 wins at the Actor Awards. I'm going to play a clip from a scene where a preacher's kid plays the blues at a juke joint in the Mississippi Delta where the movie was set in the 1930s. In this scene, you're going to notice that his music summons spirits of different musicians from the past and the future. His performance in this scene is also what summons the vampires to the location of the party.
Something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time. It might hurt you, hope you don't lose your mind. Well, I was just a boy, about 8 years old. You threw me a Bible on that Mississippi road. See, I love you, Papa, you did all you could do. And they say the truth hurts, so I lied to you. Yes, I lied to you. I love the blues.
It wasn't forced on us like that religion. No, sir. We brought this with us from home. It's magic what we do. It's sacred. And big.
There are legends of people born with the gift of making music so true it can pierce the veil between
It can pierce the veil?
life and death, conjuring spirits from the past.
Conjuring spirits from the past?
Somebody take me.
And the future.
And the future.
Somebody take me in your arms tonight. Oh. Somebody take me.
Okay. That movie was produced, written, and directed by Ryan Coogler. He also produced Marvel, Black Panther. In 2013, he was included on Time's list of 30 people under 30 who are changing the world. In 2018, he was named the runner-up of Time's Person of the Year. He and his father both work with juvenile delinquent youth in California, which sounds nice, but it's probably the opposite. Given all the accolades and the types of movie he makes, he's most likely in the club, which makes the idea that he works with compromised youth actually scary. So I'm going to go over the plot of this movie. So this is a spoiler alert plot of the movie that won all the awards. So it's really kind of a dumb plot, actually. It's just a vampire movie, so think about that. So the plot goes, in 1932, identical twins and World War I veterans Elijah, nicknamed Smoke, and Elias, nicknamed Stack, returned to Mississippi after 7 years in Chicago working for the Chicago mob. Using money stolen from criminal syndicates, they purchased an abandoned sawmill from a landowner named Hogwood to start a juke joint for the black community. Their younger cousin Sammie, a singer and guitarist, joins them, despite his pastor father's warnings about blues music being sinful. The twins recruit pianist Delta Slim as a performer, local Chinese shopkeepers as suppliers, a field worker as a bouncer, and Smoke's wife Annie as a cook, and Annie is a voodoo practitioner. Elsewhere, Irish immigrant vampire Remick shelters from Choctaw vampire hunters with a married Klansman couple, whom he turns into vampires. And this is the couple, and then Remick is in the middle. On the joint's opening night, Sammie performs, and Sammie's music is transcendent, unknowingly summoning spirits of performers both past and future to join the crowd. And that's the clip that I played before. However, the performance also attracts Remick and his vampires, who offer money and music in exchange for entry to the party, but they are initially refused. Although they do manage to turn some of the attendees outside of the juke joint into vampires. Annie, the hoodoo practitioner, repels some of them with pickled garlic juice. So Remick and his vampires share a hive mind, and eventually the black people they turn share that same hive mind. When those black people turn into vampires, they start doing an Irish dance and singing Irish music because they have the spirit of the vampires that turned them. When the Irish vampire is attacking the preacher's kid, he starts saying the Lord's Prayer. And that Irish head vampire Remick says, quote, "When your people stole our land long ago, they said that prayer." So he's referring to when Christianity took over paganism in Ireland. So still unable to enter the joint unless invited, Remick tries to negotiate by inviting survivors to join him, saying that vampirism offers immortality and freedom from persecution. Then he promises to leave the others in exchange for Sammie, whose musical skills could summon the spirits of his lost community. He also reveals that Hogwood heads the local clan and plans to attack the joint at dawn. The vampires are eventually led into the juke joint and a fight ensues. Remick is eventually incinerated along with the horde of vampires by the light at the sunrise. Smoke sends Sammie home before he kills Hogwood and his men, and then he's fatally shot. Sammie disregards his father's pleas to seek salvation and travels to Chicago. The movie ends in 1992 with an elderly Sammie, now a successful blues musician. He's visited by ageless Stack at his local blues club, and Stack reveals that Smoke, his twin brother, spared him at the joint on the condition that Sammie live in peace. After declining the couple's offer of immortality, Sammie admits that despite being haunted by that night until the violence, it was the greatest day of his life. Stack agrees, since it was the last time he saw his twin brother Smoke or the sun, and the only time they were all truly free. It does seem that this creator of this movie had occult knowledge, because the originating vampires are Irish, Tuatha De Danann, Shining Ones. Druidic pagans, because remember, Remick, the vampire, the head vampire, says that Christians took their land long ago. And also because those vampires are in cahoots with the KKK in the movie, just like they are in real life. I'm going to play a video about that Druid connection to the KKK that I did previously now. I did a video about Wolverine and mentioned the movie Days of Future Past, the X-Men movie. And a commenter on that video said to look into the Moody Blues, British band, because they had an album titled Days of Future Past. And the commenter said to look at the lyrics. So I did, and the Moody Blues were a British psychedelic band from the 60s. They started out, though, as a blues band, but the witches in charge, the Order of the British Empire, pulled a Beatles because they replaced the lead guitar and vocalist of the band in 1966 with one of their knights, Justin Hayward, who's Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. Justin Hayward, see, he's Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. Then the next album that they released in 1967, after they put Justin Hayward in, was in combination with the London Orchestra, and that album was Days of Future Past. And this is the album cover. Notice there are two knights on here. There's one at the top and there's one at the bottom. There's an eclipse. There's a spaceman and a spaceship. Phases of the moon, faces. And the composer was Peter Knight, Peter, Knight. And Peter Knight also composed some of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Beatles album, which was also released in 1967. And that album was the first album released by the Beatles after Paul McCartney was ritually murdered and replaced by session musician Billy Shears. So here are the songs on Days of Future Past and some of the lyrics, because this entire album just seems like the day in the life of a witch. But the first song is The Day Begins, and it's only the orchestra, the London Orchestra. But then at the beginning, the keyboard player of the Moody Blues is orating this poem. He's not singing it, he's speaking it, and this is it. Cold-hearted orb that rules the night, removes the colors from our sight. Red is gray and yellow white, but we decide which is right and which is an illusion. Pin-prick holes in a colorless sky, let insipid figures of light pass by. The mighty light of 10,000 suns challenges infinity and is soon gone. Nighttime to some, a brief interlude, to others the fear of solitude. Brave Helios, wake up your steeds, bring the warmth the countryside needs. So again, the lead vocalist and guitarist was Order of the British Empire. So, every time we find something about them, it's always pagan. That's the point that I'm trying to make. The next song is Dawn, Dawn is a Feeling. The next song is The Morning, Another Morning. The next one is The Afternoon, Forever Afternoon, all otherwise known as Tuesday Afternoon. Some of those lyrics are, something calls to me, the trees are drawing me near. I've got to find out why, those gentle voices I hear. Explain it all with a sigh. So gently swaying through the fairyland. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday Afternoon. The next one is Evening, the sunset, twilight time, and here are some of the lyrics. I can see it all from this great height. I can feel the sun slipping out of sight, and the world still goes on through the night. His fantasy strides over colorful skies. The cold is clearing from you in twilight times. Dream with me a while. There'll be castles in the air, whistling to the wind. Bats take to wing like puppets on a string, prancing through cool evening air. In a sightless glide, no reason to hide from the ray of the sun's blinding stare in twilight times. The next song is The Night, or Nights in White Satin, which is on the soundtrack of the Dark Shadows movie. And I will talk a lot more about that later. So the band says that the song Nights in White Satin is about satin sheets that a girlfriend gave to one of them, and I do not buy that, because look at the cover of this album. It's all psychedelic. There are nights on the cover. The nights are a very important thing to note. The faces, the eclipses, it's all occult. So a friend had told me that Jehovah's Witness show these types of images with faces embedded in their cult, photos that they show over and over, and it's a form of mind control, like with their creepy paintings and their pamphlets they give out. And I think the Mormons do that too. And I guess it happens more than I realized, like with that Charles painting, like when you put things side by side or upside down, and then on the money with the Twin Towers and all that. And I was wondering, like, I would never have thought to do that, because I didn't previously understand that they do that. But I guess it is common. Anyway, I was trying to figure out the meaning of white satin in the occult, and I figured it was worn by Druids, and it is. But my friend said that white satin is what the KKK wear, and that they were also affiliated with the Bohemian Grove. So the KKK, though, they're an occult group. They wear robes made out of white satin, but initially made out of sheets. And they call themselves, another name for themselves is Confederate Ghosts. And the leaders are grand wizards and grand dragons. And at the highest levels, they are about Indo-Aryan supremacy, like Hitler, which links back to the Nephilim overlords of the Indo-Aryan timeframe, who would have been Scythians, Etruscans, Dacians, like Goliath. in his time frame, because he was one of the last slain by David, which would have been around 1100 BC. And these are the ones that the Indo-Aryan groups associate with, because they were the, most recent. And I think they call this as Nordicism in the KKK, but it's a Nazi occult group. And they do ride horses like a knight. And they do have these Templar-looking crosses on their horses and on their robes. I think it's red with a white cross. But here's some of the other symbols they have. Okay, this one is called the Blood Drop Cross, which is a mystic insignia, commonly known as Blood Drop Cross, a white cross on a red disc with what appears to be a blood drop in the middle. First used in the 1900s, and the center originally appears also like a yin-yang. Here's another one of their symbols, and this is a sigil. But while looking up White Satin, I found this jazz album that was released in 1960 titled White Satin, and the musician is this George Shearing jazz musician, and he's Order of the British Empire. And this is him. It says he was a member of the Bohemian Grove and performed at their encampments and plays. That's him. So George Shearing, Order of the British Empire, makes this album titled White Satin in 1960. And then the Moody Blues with Justin Hayward, who is also Order of the British Empire, along with composer Peter Knight, along with the London Orchestra, has a song titled Nights in White Satin, which was released in 1967. So it's obvious that the Moody Blues got their title from this earlier George Shearing. It's obvious to me anyway. And to me, this guy, George Shearing, looks exactly like this KKK guy. It says that George Shearing was legally blind, but not completely blind, and those look like some very thick, expensive glasses that he's wearing. Okay. The photo looks like it's from the 1960s to me, and Shearing would have been about the age that this guy is at that time, because he was born in 1919. He had also immigrated from the U.S. to London by that time. From London by that time. And at that time, in the 50s and 60s, is when the KKK became known for Nordicism, which is Indo-Aryan superior cult beliefs. But see, this organization had never been about white on black racism at the highest levels. At the top, it's about the same thing as all the rest of the fraternal secretive organizations, which is witchcraft. And after all, they did call their leaders as grand wizards and grand dragons, similar to the Order Dragon. But they use emotionally or spiritually weak people at the lower levels to accomplish an agenda. And in this case, the agenda was racial division in the U.S., pitting man against his brother. And I'm sure they found enough demonized white people to be in a bigot club at the lower levels. But at the level where it's orchestrated, you find these witches just like in the Civil War with Jeb Stuart, bloodliner, Confederate Civil War general. Which is why they call the KKK as Confederate ghosts. That was literally another name for them. So here are some photos from the Bohemian Grove. And here you have a king and all of his knights here. And they're in white. They're in white. And they have these crosses on them. Here's a wizard with kings, but this photo right here is pretty good, because here you see that you have this banner here with this cross on it. You see that? Now, tell me that doesn't look like this. It does. It does. And they have this burning, so they have this cross. And In one of their photos, they had a cross. Here it is. There it is. There's their cross. Okay. So, it also looks like they're doing Heil Hitler. Let me make this bigger. There's their cross. Does it not look like they're doing Heil Hitler? Here's another cross. Okay. And I'm not saying that the Bohemian Grove is the KKK. What I'm saying is that at the top levels, the KKK and Bohemian Grove are about the same thing. See, here's a wizard staff. Grand wizard. You see what I'm saying? Witchcraft as it relates to occultism and Nephilim bloodlines. That's what I'm saying. So that's all really crazy, but the other aspect of the album that is that of vampirism, because that's related to these organizations also, which is something that I try to convey in a lot of my videos. So in the movie, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, the slave owners who were abusing the black people, and they were Southern Confederate ghost types. So you see, whoever wrote that screenplay of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter knows this occult history also. And then you have the lyrics to the song of the evening, sunset, twilight time. Whereas he seems to be singing if he's a spirit looking at things from the great height in the sky, and he refers to bats. I can see it all from this great height. I can feel the sun slipping out of sight, and the world goes on through the night. His fantasy strides over colorful skies. The cold is clearing from you in twilight times. Dream with me a while. There'll be castles in the air. Whistling to the wind, bats take to wing like puppets on a string, prancing through cool evening air in a sightless glide. No reason to hide from the rays of the sun's blinding stare in twilight times. So you have the twilight reference in that song. Then you have the dawn reference in the song Dawn. Then you have the eclipse on the cover. You have them talking about the moon as the cold-hearted orb that rules the night. And in the title of the album is Future, Days of Future Past. So here are some of the Twilight Saga of books titles. And the author said she got her inspiration from Shakespeare. So you have Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, Future, Midnight Sun, Life and Death. So remember that Robert Pattinson in the Twilight movie was the relative of the Windsors and Vlad of Wallachia in real life. And that Nights in White Satin is on the Dark Shadows movie soundtrack. And Johnny Depp is the vampire in that movie. And he's affiliated with Damien Eccles, campaigning to get him off death row and get matching sigils with Damien Eccles. And I'm going to definitely be covering this movie Dark Shadows in a future video. Thanks for listening. Okay, so in the movie, this KKK outfit, you can't really see it here, but this is that same blood drop in the movie, the Sinners movie. This outfit is very authentic. It has the same KKK blood drop on it. It's very authentic. And in the movie, "Oh brother, where art thou?" the Klan leader appears to be the same guy, George Shearing, Order of the British Empire, with those round glasses. I'm going to play this clip from the movie. I'll go through in a circle, got the white on like druids. Oh, there's your blood drop. See? Now, blood drop cross I'm talking about. Now, see the blood drop cross? Okay. I don't want to play the whole thing, go through it, but look. The Klan leader is George Shearing. He's got the same round glasses. See those round glasses? It's the same guy, a reference to the same guy. It's hard to believe they put a reference to that guy in this movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And included the KKK in cahoots with the vampires in the Sinners movie, but they have to tell you who they are. Thanks for listening.